Hi, Sharon Riegie Maynard here, and as always, you will know that I look at experiences in life from a mystic's perception, from a bigger picture, or in a vibrational fields more expansive, which are far above the 3D of Earth. The one thing that I wanted to talk about today was situations that I am finding with clients. It's not new, it's not surprising, but I haven't talked about it much with the general public, with individuals, for example, like you. I'm working with a client, and this is kind of a combination of clients, so I'll just say a client, who finds herself extremely sensitive to everything around her. You might say that she's chemically sensitive. Her skin burns. The inside of her body sometimes burns. And of course, going through the medical profession, they've come to the conclusion that it's in her head because it can't be discerned by any of their diagnostic tools. Needless to say, she has been increasingly feeling powerless, frustrated, sad, painful, wanting to not be here on the planet. So in working with her, I am definitely looking at energy impactment, involvement here. You may have heard me speak of the outsiders whose agenda is to control, to deceive, to manipulate, to use other people's energy, those that are parasitic by nature. They're around us all the time. We have been living mainly in an environment and culture that these outsiders have created. They're not of our light, not of divine intention. They have chosen an agenda that literally brings down life through disease, through violence, through rape, through death. And this is what I'm looking at in relationship to this woman's, my client's, sensitive nature. And she is what would be called an empath. That plays into this entire situation. She is feeling things that others are not because she's sensitive and because she hasn't been educated to know what to do about her sensitivity, her ability, her empathic ability. But it's more than that. So in the conversation, she spoke to me about 8 years ago when she was more closely living in a natural state, nature, having the animals and trees and plants really be supportive of her and loved that life. She felt the joy, the peace, the calm, even though she was working hard to get her degree so she could get a job, so she could find a career. And once she stepped into career, she began working with those who were dealing with their own imbalances, sensitive imbalances, mental imbalances. And at the same time, married to a man who was very abusive. So do you see, in her physical world, she is surrounded more than ever with this energy of abuse, forms created from manipulation, control, domination, fear, usury in her physical situations. Not having enough tools to work herself, keep herself in balance, but having good tools, but not enough. So as I sit with my team and put her in that healing bubble of highest good so that we can evaluate, work with her team, I ask what was the trigger way back then that began the spiral from that wonderful, peaceful, quiet, natural state to where she's today can hardly even take a shower, go out of her house, use her phone, certainly not a computer. And they said the trigger was in interacting with her husband at the time, who was very controlling, I would say, parasitically influenced male. She felt and sensed his control and manipulation. It responded with stress, with a feeling of needing to shut down, to hide. And when you are in that state, when you are vulnerable because your boundaries are gone, you're totally vulnerable to parasitic additional attachments. So we froze frame, we surrounded that situation while we gathered enough information to transform it. So we knew that was the trigger. But what was it back in time? What were the seed causes? Because I'm always going to go to cause, further back cause, further back cause. And they said that the seeds that came together, or experiences that came together, still stored, were situations when she was working in villages with other women, the joy they had in their visions, in their healing, in their planning, in their cooking, a whole different culture than we have now. And what happened for every one of them, 10 different lifetimes, was the occupying type beings coming into their village, totally a different nature than the men in their village. These were carrying that commitment to control, dominate at any cost, including destruction of the village. And so when the women stood up and said, wait a minute, we need to check you out, which was the right role for a woman, they ignored, they began to attack. The stronger the women stood up, the more they were destroyed. Very similar to the witch hunts that went on. This was even before the witch hunts. So there were these situations that she had been a part of, these groups that still held the trauma and the death energy and the fear energy in the face of control, manipulation, vibrations. So when she felt it from her then to be ex-husband, it triggered all of those situations, those stored memories and literally stored aspects of her soul. So in order to heal her present sensitivity, we had to go back in time, in this lifetime, and then back further and further in other lifetimes to pick up all of those women in those various circles of which she was a part that had been injured, to restore to them their authority to speak, not acceptable, stop, we are going to check you out before you come into our village, into our homes, into our lives, into our bodies, and to be heard, to restore that energy to them. When we did that in the past, working with Mother Earth Gaia, working with Sophia and Lilith, working with the PTO teams, led with the Archangels Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel, and Metatron, restore the authority. Then it's as if those injury situations never happened because the women were heard, parasitics were removed. Every single time. It has opened an entirely new stream of energy that my client can now build with. Will this be the end of pulling those out of her energy fields? Probably not, because she is so impacted. For some, that would be enough. For her, probably not. That's why we're doing regular work through 3 months period of time. So I just want to let you know that when you, as a woman, a soul in a female body, sense something that's off, either in your body, in your relationship, in your space, in your life, you are correct. If you don't know what to do with it, get answers. I'm always available. Many, many blessings. we will break free.